if I could kind of tell a little bit of a story and I'll kind of connect the dots for everybody here. So, not all that long ago, here at Sinclair Community College, we had a grant that we put together called Enhancing IT. And the idea was based off of this spiraling curriculum idea where we would, introduce new concepts and help students learn all the way through their program. One of the things that we were doing with that is finding where we have redundancies in our program. Now, if you're like us and you teach a lot of industry certifications, if you teach CompTIAs and Cisco and Microsoft, you probably start to find out that there's a lot of redundancies in that curriculum. So what we set out to do was to remove those redundancies and add higher levels of learning. So take, for instance, you learn about malware in the first class. You learn about how to remove malware in the second class. Then you learn how to create malware in the top class. So it's learning how to use these new things and opening up gaps inside of our curriculum and letting us have higher levels of learning. So when we started working on that, we started finding out that our base wasn't as strong as what we thought it was, that we were trying to remove these redundancies. However, we found out that we were not introducing some of this curriculum earlier on. And one of the big things over the last couple of years that I've found out talking with students, my background isn't actually in education. My background's actually, I used to work in cybersecurity. I worked for a large data center for about 15 years. So my background has all been in the technical side. So when I started talking to students, I started finding out that there is a huge gap with students even understanding the difference between computer engineering, computer science, and information technology. So we found, we started talking with students coming into Sinclair, that we found out that a lot of students were going down the wrong path, maybe at a university, maybe 2 or 3 years before they came to Sinclair. Almost 30% of my students have started at a university or have even finished a baccalaureate degree and have come back to Sinclair. And I have about 1,800 students inside of our programs. So I've been able to talk a lot of students about this idea. Well, we started finding out that parents don't really understand this concept. Students don't really understand. A lot of people chunk anything technology related, whether it be engineering, computer science, into one idea, and it's normally computer science. That's kind of the whole that everybody thinks, like, oh, you're great at building that laptop, you ought to go in computer science. Then the son or daughter goes into computer science at a university and finds out that it's all programming and mathematics, and they're like, but I liked hardware. They didn't realize the different areas. So building on that, Ryan Murphy, who's also on this call, myself, that we're a part of the CCN and the Hub, we came up with a new class called IT Fundamentals. Now, for most people, this is probably not something new. This is based on the CompTIA IT Fundamentals certification. However, Ryan and I have been able to grow on this quite a bit. With that, we are now making sure that when students enroll in the class, this is the first class that they take in our program, that they're actually now getting a review of computer science, information technology, and engineering with videos that we made for the department. Now students are starting to understand the path that they want to go in possibly the very first class that they may take at Sinclair. It will help them on that pathway. And then with that said, we actually broke down each week into hardware, software, information technology basics, networking, database, programming. And in every single week of instruction, they have to review what job category that would be. They get to watch videos where, there's interviews with a software developer or an application developer or a cybersecurity person. They get to learn the jobs, the job roles, and then what direction they would like to take. So with that said, that let us develop a whole new class that we have at Sinclair. And meeting with our business advisory teams and working with our local high schools, I think there's a misconception out there that everybody learns the Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel skills in high school. And then we go to our high schools and they say, well, we don't teach that. So we also made sure that inside of this, there's a week on how to use Word, PowerPoint, and Excel and things like that, because we also found out that that was an area where students were struggling. I bring all that together to say that this actually, building this new class has started this brand new pathway and this brand new program that we have at Sinclair. Just yesterday, Sinclair did a ribbon cutting at a new center we're calling Westtown. Westtown is in an area of Dayton that's extremely underserved. There's a large underserved population in this area, and we've been trying to figure out ways to help students in this area of Dayton. Well, we just had a brand new ribbon cutting, and guess what? All of the elected officials within side of Montgomery County, where the city of Dayton is, all thought it was a great idea to start students off with information technology classes. So Ryan and I are excited that our classes are going to be built into this program. And along with this program, the city of Dayton is also going to be offering pre-apprenticeships to students that have taken that IT fundamentals class. So students will be taking that as their first class as a part of this program. And I know I probably don't have that much longer to talk about this, but we also went into a partnership with our workforce development office. I don't know if most community colleges are like us. We don't necessarily have a very strong relationship with our workforce development office, but we're building a great relationship because we also built this class as a workforce development class. So now, if you're in the west side of Dayton and you're a high school student, you can stop in for free and start in this workforce development class. Then it will directly lead into all of our degree pathways. It's 100% paid for now, and it's a guaranteed a pre-apprenticeship working in IT for the city of Dayton. So we're pretty excited about this program, and all of this came about from discovering that we needed to create a new class as a fundamental class to get students aware of areas that might be of interest in them to going into technology and kind of building it up from the ground up as we start introducing new concepts in our other programs.
Hey, Kyle, Felix Davis here, College of DuPage in Illinois. What's your delivery method for the IT Essential Fundamentals? Is it asynchronous? Is it instructor-led? Is it self-paced?
So Ryan, feel free to jump in. When we create a class at Sinclair, we have to create it in like 5 different modalities when we work with our instructional designers. Every single class, so I'm over 58 individual classes at Sinclair. They have to be made in competency-based. They have to be made in face-to-face. They have to be made in hybrid. They have to be made in online, and then they have to be made in online hybrid. So we basically created the curriculum to fit in. And also, Ryan, we also developed this to be put into the prison systems as well. So then there's a whole nother element of course creation where you can't have discussion forums. You have to remove some of the cybersecurity pieces. So there's a lot of concepts that we really had to go through with this. And it's all lab based. I know that there's a question in there. I really enjoy the curriculum from Test Out. We're using them specifically because they started out helping with prison systems, and we can actually host all of the curriculum on a server inside of Sinclair and only have a single connection back. So, and not connected to the internet. So that's why we went with them. We can also do that with NetLabs. So for those out there that have NetLabs, you can also create a connection just to NetLabs, then not NetLabs out to the internet. That's the only way that our institutions would. And remember, the state of Ohio now allows Pell Grants for people incarcerated. So there is a huge push for students in incarcerated systems to get college education in the state of Ohio.
Another question, will all the colleges and universities buy into the standardization? Is that an issue?
Well, that is quite a big issue. So take, for instance, we've had multiple meetings with a lot of all of the universities, right? The Ohio State University, University of Cincinnati, Wright State, all of us come together and we have these conversations. A lot of it, we're getting the definitions from ABET to make sure we follow it. However, if anyone is interested, I created a new computer science AS. It's kind of weird as a community college to actually have an AS degree, but I actually have an AS in computer science, and it has been okayed by all of our universities to be 100% transfer. And the state is actually now using that as their definition for the first 2 years of computer science.
Hey, Kyle, this is James Chegwood, and I'm the one that said that message on standardization. In Texas, we had this same idea, but we've got some bigger colleges that seem to still want to do their own thing. We're kind of like they say they'll do that, but then they don't want to actually do that. So I mean, I wish you guys, I think you have a great idea here, but I just don't want you to do all this work. And then they say, oh, the Ohio State or one of those private institutions will come back and say, oh, sorry, we're not going to take it at the last minute.
I kind of worked everybody into a corner because Sinclair signed everybody an MOU that they would accept these classes. Then when we met with the state, they couldn't say that they wouldn't.
Okay, there you go.
So then they were like, but again, it only came down to 4 CIS classes. All the rest is mathematics. So it's almost 21 hours of math. And then C++, 2 series of Java and data structures. I mean, literally that's it. And the rest is all what we call Ohio Transfer Module. But I'm trying to get those computer science classes as computer transfer module or Ohio transfer module in that area. So everybody has to accept them. I had quite a hard time getting that AS through Sinclair. They wanted to make it a liberal arts degree, right? Because technically it meets all of the same outcomes as a liberal arts degree, but I actually wanted to be called a computer science AS. And they're like, oh, well, a student could come in as a liberal arts degree and just take those classes and have that as a transfer. But I'm all about having it all paved out, all worked out.